Oh, come on. All right, so we have a tradition here at Epicenter Helsinki. You want to hear about it? Okay, we're going to lighten the mood. So one of the big things that we do here at Epicenter Helsinki is creating a safe space. It's a safe space for asking questions, networking, and having a great time. So we're going to start by everyone in the room. I know this is going to go against everything that you feel right now, but believe me, trust me, you're going to feel great about it. So for the next 10 seconds, we're just going to clap as loud as possible for you, for me, and for Sami. Okay? 1, 2, 3. Let's hear another one. Okay, you see, from my perspective now, there are so many people smiling. So much better. Hey, welcome to Epicenter Helsinki. My name is Joey. I am the community manager here. I see a ton of new faces, so welcome. I hope you're ready for a fantastic conversation as we delve into the metaverse. But a little bit about Epicenter. Epicenter is an arena. It's a playground for local change makers, companies, and thought leaders to come together to, more importantly, share ideas and to expand their growth. And the way that we accomplish these types of growth is by hosting events very similar to this, where we have an opportunity to come together to hear from amazing people who understand a lot more about a topic than I do. But I can fake it, right? Oh, wow. Normally people laugh at that. Where are we? Do we have to clap again? do I have to win you to my side? All right. We, our community, like I mentioned, we opened in Stockholm in 2015, and since then have expanded to Oslo and here in Helsinki with projects across Europe, Africa, and Asia. Without you, none of this would be possible. So I want to thank you all firsthand for being here on a Tuesday afternoon to help us enter the metaverse. And we are excited to kick off this event series. This is going to happen on a monthly basis. And we're going to touch on topics like digital fashion, marketing in the metaverse, avatar tech, and so much more. But today we want to take the opportunity to simply ask, does the metaverse exist? And do you want to come with me on this journey right now? Yeah. So you know the story of Peter Pan, you know, Tinkerbell lives off clapping, and if you don't clap, she dies. Do you know the story? Okay, so I also die without validation. So throughout the course of the evening, I'm gonna need you to validate me as much as humanly possible. So are we ready to go on this journey? There we go. You see how happy you are just by clapping? Okay. And just a reminder, again, the Epicenter is a safe space for exchanging ideas and knowledge. Please remember to try to meet someone new today. And if you don't have the willpower or the energy to do that, I am the best at interrupting people in their conversations. I am the best wingman. So if you want to meet someone today, just grab me and say, Joey, please introduce me to so-and-so. But also, please ask questions. It's the reason why we have an expert here today. And speaking of our expert, we are thrilled to have with us a true innovator with superb technical skills combined with business understanding with over 2 decades of experience. Throughout his career, he has worked as a customer experience designer, a service designer, a full stack proto developer, and an extended reality strategy and experience designer. That is a lot. I am so excited for this speech, so please help me in welcoming to the stage Head of Metaverse at Unite AI, Sami Heinonen.
Thanks. 1, 2, 3, can hear me. I was super relaxed there with you guys and friends. Now I'm super terrified, but you must help me out and over that. And by the way, this material is totally new to me too, so I need my notes. Please bear with that kind of thing here. But today, does the metaverse exist? My name is Sami Heinonen. I'm the head of the metaverse at the Unite AI. Oh, where's that? Sorry. And I'm sorry about you had to read all that. I think it was just a kind of copy paste from a web page. Sorry, but I've done a lot of things in my past, and still we are doing great, amazing things. It's my kind of a bad habit to get into things that are really new and innovative, and maybe bleeding edge, to say that we're tinkering with the latest technology and all that stuff, and then we're promising, maybe sometimes over-promising things what we can do, and then we find ourselves 5 a.m. doing that before the premiere. But let's say 90% of those cases we have success flowing in from those different projects, but maybe some other day about those things. Company Unite AI, that's a kind of a red branded company. We were actually 3 different companies from AI, XR, and FinTech and coming together, and we in a way started from the scratch this January, but we are already a group of 80 plus people, and our headquarters is actually in the States. We're living here, Epicenter is taking care of us, daily basis we have here, and we have office in Oulu, Finland. And we have prepared a short video of ourselves, and let's look at it.
Technology has always pushed humankind forward. For the first stone tools our ancestors made over 3 million years ago to today. The secret sauce for large-scale improvement occurs when technological innovations are creatively applied to real-life problems. The world needs shakers and makers more than ever. The world needs creative technologists to take new and emerging technologies and use them to drive business forward. That's why we are here. To build intelligent tools with AI, Metaverse, cloud, and mobile technologies. The world needs Unite AI. Building intelligent tools for the age of Metaverse. Boom.
Thanks. Awesome. When I got this great opportunity, thanks to Epicenter Joy and Krista, I noticed that when I was out with my dog and thinking that what I should actually talk to you guys, because I know some of you and most of you know something, and some people know a lot about different things, but I thought that maybe because this is kind of the first episode of a say, I don't know how many, 10 or something of different events coming later after this, it could be a good idea to have this kind of introduction and generate kind of a metaverse discussion to what it is it there, what's its future, and whatnot. And I have had this kind of a list of random things related to this, and at that time I didn't have kind of a logical path how the story would go, but pretty easily then I started to connect these different things together, and the end of that process, this thing is what you're about to see now. So, if you ask someone how he thinks, what's the metaverse, how he imagines that kind of thing in his or her head, I guess this is something close to that currently, that you have virtual places where people gather together, do some fun, entertaining. They perhaps buy some NFT Armani handbag. They possibly play something on Meta Horizon, or they play some multiplayer game like Fortnite, because that is too can be categorized under the metaverse. And for example, when the COVID was like hitting hard, one really good example of kind of real life examples was those digital showrooms, that there were no places or events where you can actually see physical products and maybe test drive and such. So virtual, for example, car configurators and that stuff like that were coming hard. but the party is more or less over from if you think about Gartner hype cycle. I've been here previously, for example, with VR. It had the same kind of curve that everybody was talking about, and then next day, nobody was talking about it. And when I was at the office or with the customers, like say 5 years ago, they said that, yeah, we tried out VR and it's there in our meeting room corner. Okay, you have virtual reality. Meant that they had bought some hardware and they just played with it a little bit and that's it. So now I can say that once the hype is more or less gone and people are more or less talking about ChatGPT and stuff like that, now the real world actually begins. And people like us, we step forward and start really thinking together with customers that how to create value with these amazing tools that actually Metaverse is actually providing. But of course, we have to take a couple steps back, like, okay, what is actually Metaverse? What's the official kind of a definition of Metaverse? And really, to me, I make life easier for people like CTOs or CEOs or companies to say the fact that, at least my opinion is that Metaverse is kind of a, how to put it, internet of the future. It sounds a little bit plain, internet, but really, if you think where this all is going, it's actually going to this kind of version of Metaverse, step by step. And if it's kind of the internet of the future, who is to say what that internet can actually be? Because it can be almost anything. So there most probably is not one specific definition of what is internet. So the same applies with Metaverse. But what we might have and already have, for example, with internet, that might have and still have kind of a little bit isolated internets, like say cultural or freedom of speech online and that kind of areas and segments of internet. And the same must possibly apply in the future with Metaverse, that someone or some organization is trying to control the Metaverse. It's not just one happy place where everyone can talk about anything. For the consumers, Metaverse, at least now, it shows its faces as kind of a place for entertainment and kind of a place for marketing and maybe kind of a virtual escape where you can go and escape this reality. But where I can see that what is the kind of a most fascinating place currently to find value and really let's talk about what we can do with this is B2B companies. That they, for example, with these virtual tools and Metaverse, you can actually, in a way, patch up with your personal shortages. That if you can't recruit people, you can bring to your virtualized manufacturing line people to work there as part of your physical manufacturing line. And you can improve your work satisfaction with this, with employee experience, and then can, of course, boost safety, for example. As you all know, you can do some kind of a virtual training that is, for example, safety on construction site and such. And it's a way to co-design with consumers' forthcoming products and that kind of stuff. But it all comes back to meaningful use cases. So always when there is something new tech coming in, everybody wants to do something like showing off that, yeah, this is really cool and stuff. And kind of like gimmicks, marketing gimmicks that let's do this and cost like this and we'll do this thing. But say after a week or two or maybe half a year, it's not actually creating value. So what we need to make sure as designers of Metaverse that we need to find those meaningful challenges and areas to enhance some business or safety to go with our customers and any users, and to really make and focus on meaningful use cases. And how to start and find those within your organization. One example is to have this kind of a Metaverse bootcamp, just to have people to facilitate you to find those opportunities and learn about it. This is one of my favorite topics, especially say 2 years ago when minerals and all that stuff, like price of aluminium and all that batteries and components were availability and the price, they were like off the roof. And that creates pressure to the whole value chain. You think there's manufacturer, importing agency, retailer, after sales organization, then you have the poor consumer there. Each of these different layers are taking their own margin. And then once the kind of production cost is too high, there's not enough of cake to be shared with everyone. So most likely the one at the top, of course, you should actually flip this the way around, that you have the consumer here, manufacturer here. But if you start thinking, and they are thinking, that how we can actually go to direct to consumer model. And in order to answer that kind of thing, of course, you have questions like how to set up services and maintaining after sales and stuff like that. But the one example is we need some kind of a virtual showroom to take a look at our products and really take care of our customers. So that is where we have kind of a $1 million opportunity for different companies, manufacturing industry, to really enhance the quality of the product, quality of the whole stack, to create better services to customers and maybe with less price. This is how I feel nowadays when I open up my phone. And at some point I tried to follow all the material that was tagged as metaverse or AI or something, but I was like, whoa, this is killing me. So, and of course all the news from the world, what's happening there. So with AI and of course like data analytics and stuff, we must start creating kind of a filtering and recommendation, hey, something this is relevant to you. But if you think about what is the most natural kind of a counterpart for human beings to interact with the data, that's another human being, meaning that I know this sounds funny and people are necessarily like this because they said, yeah, we saw city and stuff. But I personally believe that in the future, or near time, when I'm using my mixed reality device, this is not what let's assume this is, I want to ask my Siri, it's actually standing here right next to me. You can see it, but I can see it. And it's actually proactively, it's context aware what's happening here and proactively saying that, hey, Sami, you should actually go there and do something else. And so that's kind of ultimate human data API or viewport will be this kind of a human-like avatar, if you say. Okay. Then about actually Web3, decentralization, blockchain technologies, token-based economics, all that. It's it's awesome. I really like it. I'm not expert in Web3 and all those different technologies, but let's make one thing clear. Metaverse is not Web3. It's Web3, to me at least, it represents kind of a stack of different technologies, different enablers that are awesome. They are new. The whole concept of like for example, from the browser point of view, that I actually want the data, not Meta or something else. That's something that I need, and the smart contracts, all that stuff. But I have a feeling, and maybe now when ChatGPT is actually getting all that bandwagon people together there and not necessarily talking about Web3, and now it's the time when we need actually more doers than talkers about Web3. So we need actually people to start tinkering around and really create those meaningful use cases on top of Web3. But if you start like creating your metaverse strategy and all that stuff, and maybe having your MVP or POC, you don't necessarily need this in enablers yet. You can introduce those when needed. For example, if you need some kind of a payment method, it doesn't have to be crypto or something fancy NFT. You want something, you're totally fine still with the PayPal or something. If it fulfills kind of need of consumer rate and it's intuitive and easier, makes you a customer happy. This is unfortunately the thing what we will see in the future, also with Metaverse. Despite of decentralization and all that stuff, your Metaverse device manufacturer, even though you have this kind of a apparent freedom of navigation to Metaverse, whether it is your mixed reality glasses or tablet or iPhone or something, you're going there through someone's back, maybe front yard. And in this context, I mean the ecosystem of the manufacturer who made your device. And if you think about your friends and payment options and asset digital ownership, currently there are managed and at least let's put it this way, they don't have intention to let you free go there and do whatever you want to have. They still want to have your 30% of all the transactions you do there throughout their ecosystem. There will be free ones, of course, but the people tend to go under these mega brands and buy their stuff there. One second. Now there. Okay. Very used picture of the movie Ready Player One. I usually say Ready Player Me, that is the avatar-systeemä. And the kind of the background story is that all is gone hell. The only safe haven for people is going to some virtual place. Sounds bad at first, but really, if you turn it upside down, and if you're disabled in some way, or if you want to save environment, like limit your traveling, or you don't have time or something, this is a pretty good kind of a way to create how you can actually experience your life and beyond, meaning that we can get older people on board and take you somewhere. And this was actually already the case with VR back in the days, that we were thinking that if we go to the what's a place where old people live, not home, but those one I got the, I don't know. And there you can actually help people to get free in a way and go there and really have fun and maybe do some multiplayer stuff together, that you're with your friends, you're again digging a hole and hey, my back is good, but I'm all virtual. So that's pretty amazing. I will at least do that when I'm 80 or 90, that I'll be there in bed using my headset. That sounds a little bit aggressive, but I will be there most definitely. Yeah. Artificial scarcity. This is actually at least to me, this was pretty kind of new term that I actually learned from EY's kind of presentation, that one way to create this value is kind of artificial scarcity. And if you think, and also that drives the FOMO, fear of missing out something, some opportunity. And for example, if you take a look at this very known Bored Ape Yacht Club, and each of these digital monkeys, the current value of that, for example, is something about $3.4 million. And if you think that they should I actually invest in that kind of monkey? Yeah, sure. If you are speculating with values of that kind of things, it makes lots of sense. But I really think that if you're not like jumping onto this bandwagon, you're actually missing nothing. Instead, let's put it this way, that I more evaluate solutions or that kind of thing where the, for example, NFT is tied up with some physical product, a digital twin. If your boat or car comes from the manufacturing line, and even before it's born, you already, as a customer, you get the digital identity of that car, and you can already start learning about that new car in beforehand. If you get your new EV 12 months. And once you sell that car to someone, the NFT actually goes also along the way. So that actually might meaning some meaningful use case again with these kind of things. But I think that you're not actually missing out something if you're not buying those monkeys. Okay, now we come to at least my second kind of a favorite area is AI, the role of AI. I'm not the kind of, even though Unite AI, by the way, is an AI company. We are not an XR or Metaverse company per se, but we are actually an AI company that creates tools for the age of the Metaverse. Because who says that, hey, we are internet company? Metaverse is equals to Metaverse. So here, once again. Coming back to those meaningful use cases, you need to have this need or challenge or opportunity to find together with your customers and maybe their end users. And then you might use conventional service design double diamond. First, you figure out how you're actually solving a real problem. Then you are creating lots of ideas, and then you are focusing into maybe one or two. And then you're creating product and testing out that. And maybe usually kind of an end result of that is kind of a more or less kind of a static solution. This is how we solved it, whether it is a digital service or say service designed pharmaceutical or some kind of retailer place where you see that, okay, cashier should be there and product needs to be there in order to make things work. So that's kind of a static. But with AI, once it's there all the time, under the whole thing, not some kind of additional layer on top of that, but like really on the bottom of everything, it's constantly measuring different KPIs and stuff like that, and thinking that, okay, this time for some reason people don't tend to do what we actually figured out, like say 6 months ago, that they used to do at this point. But then the AI can actually change the use case to dynamically in a way to make the whole thing in a kind of a living organism that actually changes based on actual use. And that's the kind of one role where we are using AI. And about AI a little bit later. And actually that requires lots of kind of a knowledge, what kind of different AI capabilities and things we have and how to utilize in this context, etc. So it's a totally different area of expertise. And people are having this kind of healthy discussion currently because we have this fuss ongoing about DALL-E, ChatGPT, Midjourney, Stable Diffusion and such, that they is it actually replacing human creativity? But my take on that is it is not. Someone said actually pretty well that maybe if somebody is actually taking your job away, it's another person using that AI capability. But I think personally over time, when again this bandwagon goes off, back in the days, if you were some great artist or some kind of a creative person, you usually the masterpieces of your art were actually created in certain circumstances, like you were possibly drinking or smoking or something, or I don't know what you were doing, or having some kind of spiritual awakening, and then that kind of drawing I will do. But I think personally that the AI actually will be in the future, or already is kind of a healthy substance to artists to help them to be creative, meaning that they you can, for example, type in those different keywords. Give me, I need to draw this kind of building. Then type in those different values, like I don't know what, and then it will generate like 10 different pictures of that something. But then, if you take a look at this picture, this is from the computer point of view. This is a flat image anyway. It doesn't actually know what's behind this, but your brain is doing that already. Hey, what's behind there? And that's kind of a thing that AI, at least currently, is not doing. And that's where your creativity actually starts doing that work. So I think AI will be kind of a healthy substance to be taken every morning as a pill, maybe. I don't know. And how to have this kind of a mass adaptation of metaverse. And I personally believe that that day will be when Apple will come out with this kind of mixed reality glasses. That it's so transparent and natural part of your everyday life that it's there, that it's this reality that is enhanced with something. And then you react with that, or it's proactive. But then it comes back to the ecosystem thing. Whose metaverse layer you are using? Some open source or Meta or Apple or Google or something? Let's see, that remains to be seen. And this we did at the Slash, we did for Vario this kind of a Ford US is our customer, and we got the permission to use this high resolution Ford Mach-E model that can actually have that in your room, and then a group of people can do this kind of a quality check together to find if there are some missing screw traps or something left there. So that's this is on Vario, it's really high quality. And most likely pretty soon, say within 2 months or so, Apple is coming out with their mixed reality headset. Hopefully they don't kill that too. They have this kind of trend of killing everything. And Microsoft has to, thanks to Alpha Space VR, that they are replacing with the mesh. And it's all about the experiences. Yeah, need to be tender. When you consume media tries to have some effect on you. It tries to change your attitude. It tries to make you buy something, or it tries to create some kind of emotional result or something. It tries to make you buy something, maybe learn something new, or comprehending some very complex thing. And if you haven't seen this is a already a bit old thing. This is, I guess, like 4 years old thing. But this is Miguela Sousa. She's a fully virtual Instagram influencer, and she's really realistic. And they are using that to having a different co-branding events on Instagram. So things like this we'll be able to see a lot in the future. And one of my favorite topics is even though it is a kind of this new world of metaverse is kind of massive design challenge, it's also on the other hand a huge opportunity. Back in the days, we had to worry only about a mobile breakpoint or desktop breakpoint on web pages, that if whether it is responsive website or not. But now we need to take care of the kind of a seamless travel across all different metaverse touchpoints, like a mixed reality, VR, website, some surfaces, or maybe metaverse is just audio coming to your ear, and how to create. Of course, in this context, design is for example, from this point of view, that they with web design back in the days, for example, when I started, I'm so old, I'm so freaking old, that the Google actually printed first web pages in 95 or something. And the coolest thing at that time, what we knew, was this blinking dagger. So nowadays, it's a kind of let's say the one good convention is, for example, this hamburger menu. The most of the websites, they have this hamburger menu. And that's kind of an end result of long way kind of a design being evolving, that what's the best way to navigate and do that stuff. But now it's all those like conventions are gone. We are starting from the scratch again, that if you think about 3D and you have to interact with your hands, how that should be done. What's the hamburger menu in that context? And designers, they have to, in a way, have this massive kind of learning curve, how they start thinking in this kind of context. I've been drawing to our designers this is as a kind of a a kind of a 3D box that you used to design flat free screens, but now you need to start feeling kind of worlds, and that's like, whoa. And as I said, the metaverse is kind of an end result of kind of a long way. It's kind of a vision, and while getting there, we need to get the most out of the current tools, what we have, and are working best in different contexts. For example, if you think about, again, payment, if you think about web browser where you have 3D content there and you're navigating with your keyboard and mouse and stuff like that, and then you have to buy something. Do you want to walk there to the virtual register and then you hand over some magical way your wallet, here's my money, give me my NFT, something. But at that whole point, I think a best way to cope with that kind of things is create a user experience in a way that you don't necessarily even notice that, but you're taking to the web page layer on top of that metaverse, meaning that you have the conventional web page elements and buttons there, and can, in a way, for example, integrate Shopify there as is already. So that's so how we can actually, while going there to the future, we can take the best parts of the current internet and use it. And we have actually much learned from one specific group of people who are really skilled at this, and that's the game industry, game design industry, especially mobile design, mobile game industry. Okay, if the metaverse is the internet, and then, for example, some company set up a web page that's called as destination, and those destinations or home pages, they have to be hosted on some server. And we found this kind of a challenge, like early days, that there are not too many good places where you actually put your home pages, the metaverse pages up and running. So we actually had to create that by ourselves. We have a server facility in Oulu behind the fiber cable connection, and then there we have lots of computers doing that, cloud computing and all that fancy stuff. And there should be, even though it's not necessarily, for example, our platform, there should be kind of a way how you can integrate those things to CRM or product information master and things like that, and the recommendation engine and NLP. And then in order to that kind of things to be successful, it needs to be easy to use. So at least our aim is to create that kind of a tool that is kind of a what you see is what you get tool that you just drag and drop stuff there and then it works. Let's see what's the reality. And as I said, at least we want to do photorealistic metaverse, meaning that we want to have the latest and the most powerful computers rendering that stuff. We are using WebGL, but we are also using Unreal Engine 5. And with that technology, we can actually achieve really photorealistic experience. But on the other hand, that requires lots of we can't assume that people have the latest phone in their pockets. It's most likely some Samsung and maybe 3 years old, and you can't run photorealistic stuff there. So we have to figure out that we actually calculate that image on our cloud, and then we just stream the experience on your phone. So we don't utilize your CPU to do that stuff. So, does the metaverse exist? This is kind of a very terrible picture of how Meta put it, like, I don't know, half a year ago. But there is a kind of a consensus that there's only one single metaverse. But there are these different kind of segments of that, like European metaverse, maybe not having clear boundaries, but you know what I mean. And then along the way, while we're having this Ready Player One future, these kind of metaverse characteristics will arise from the current services up. So you don't see the day when the metaverse like here all one night. It will be here piece by piece. And most likely you will access this big metaverse through someone's ecosystem, like for example Apple, and they have some control of that. So coming back to this question, does it actually exist? Yes, most definitely, it's already there, but we don't necessarily realize what we're actually currently staring at. And one way to really understand the idea of what's there for our business is to really have these kind of metaverse bootcamps and educate organizations and people really about the opportunities and constraints and what's possible and scalability things and such. And amazingly, Unite AI does all that. So if your company needs that kind of a facilitation of getting these things ongoing and seeing what's there for your organization, we're here to help. And at any time, whether it's night or day, I don't know what's time in Metaverse, you can send me email, sami@unite.com.
Let's give a huge hand for Sami.
Sorry, it's just
It's okay.
Good.
Does anyone have any questions? Oh, come on. Okay, there we go.
Hi, Sami.
Hello, Krista.
What do you think about when we talk about that the problem of current metaverse is that there are not enough people? I mean, if you talk about B2C metaverses, and now the proposed solution is that we bring AI-driven NPCs to fill up the spaces. What do you think about? Is this a solution, or is it going to be just awkward?
If they play some purpose, it's totally okay to have those NPCs there. And I was actually today thinking the very same thing, kind of an illusion of having more people there, that you're not there alone. Because I was there using the Oculus Quest 1 headset, and the kind of launch area there is that you have this kind of a hub or hut. And then you can see the other huts, like say 200 meters that way and 3 over there. And you have a feeling that each of those different spheres have one person in. So you have this kind of collective feeling that I'm not here alone, but yes, you are there alone. But if they are playing some purpose, for example, they are helping you with some service, and you recognize, okay, this is a kind of this is trying to sell me something, but that's not okay. I think that's good. But if you just try to fill this empty space with bots, then it's just sad. Then there's no meaningful need for that kind of anyone, maybe. Or maybe it's not time for that kind of solution. Then you should go back to the drawing board and really think again and think about and design these things from the concept point of view. But of course, this is kind of a chicken and egg thing, because people don't know about these things, and we have also this kind of a important work that we need to educate people and tell about these things, what's possible, what's not. But most likely it will be there in masses when they adopt this through some game or fancy Apple branded mixed reality glasses.
Sami, we have another question.
Please.
Hi, Sami.
Moi.
I work for a company that does brand licensing, so we actually help brands secure their property. And I had some customers who actually already started doing metaverse showrooms, for instance, Louis Vuitton and all those.
Yeah.
Do you see that AI will really help brand property protection in this kind of digitalized world? Because currently, for instance, I have a customer who does a lot of logos because they actually copy the brand and they do t-shirts out of that brand. But in a digitalized world, anybody can just, pick a picture and do something with it, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm more interested, like, what's your vision into, like,
how to prevent
AI
that.
protect me as a brand owner. For instance, Angry Bird. I can't do an NFT of any Angry Bird because the company will sue me. And well, you know,
Yeah,
it's a lot of freedom out there. So
yeah, exactly. And most likely you can do that Angry Birds NFT by yourself. I really don't know, to be really honest. Always someone can go over or like around that kind of limitation what we try to have there. And I can't answer that question. Hopefully someone will figure out that if we would have a Henry Hyppen, our AI guy here, he would, I guess he's not here, but I would imagine that he would create like 10 ideas right away. But I'm kind of a metaverse guy, sorry. But I can actually, there's a Laura right next to you. Not Krista is there. If you talk to Laura, he knows how to discuss it forward. Super. And
Stay close there, right?
and by the way, I guess I realized today when I was going through this material that I didn't talk about privacy at all. And it's kind of a pleasure that we always seem to kind of a top of the whole thing, and then we have the massive, not saying problem, but the kind of a challenge how we actually clean up the whole metaverse. But then we have to go back to, is this regulation or something? And I have a quick story, if I may, 2 seconds. Back in the days when I was working in Nokia, at that time there was actually no regulation how we actually, what data we can start collecting and stuff like that, because there was things like a first time user experience, and based on this and that we got some data. But the principle was always that if it's legal, it's okay, but you always have to ask permission from the consumer that is this okay, and then go forward with that one. So would imagine that that's also kind of a way forward. But of course, on top of that comes most likely a very, very heavy regulation. I don't know if GDPR actually applies. Maybe it applies and have tools already, but possibly there are kind of new profession called as Metaverse Privacy Officer, and how GDPR actually applies into Metaverse things. I don't know.
And Sami, I warned you that we have a really engaging community, so we have a couple more questions.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. Hello, Sami. Rauno here.
Well,
Actually, you partly already answered the question, but let me fulfill a little bit. According to the EU regulations, so the GDPR, DSA, DMA, DGA, and AI regulation apply to Metaverse exactly like it does in real life. So we need to pay attention for that. Secondly, we are making also many kind of XR sites, but my question to you is that how do you feel at the moment about Finnish companies and the readiness for them to go into metaverses or XR platforms compared to American market, European market, Far East? So
yeah.
Are we on the level or are we already behind?
Do you want me to be honest with this answer? Let me think how to put this, because I want to stay as positive as possible. But okay, let's put it this way: that of course, I saw with my own eyes that once the whole situation, what we currently have here in the world, started, Finnish companies were like, let's go around the table and duck and cover, and let's hope that it pops, and like maybe freezing all the different IT or some investments that let's stick with the old things, and when the days get better, we come with the ideas and maybe then we get flourished. But I think that's bad strategy. We should invest into these things already, especially now. Let's say a year ago, you should have started to think about how you actually leverage your business with Metaverse. For example, these digital showrooms. And by the way, one way to really clue that experience is if you want to see an example, you can go to silverboats.fi/English version of that, and then you go to the one specific boat can't remember which one. And there, if you take a look at the different details, and there is a button that says that take a test drive. And once you click that, you're taking this to do this kind of a very immersive 3D environment where you can start driving your boat and stuff. But of course, that's kind of an end result because I was working in that company and I just push it there. And I think at least globally it resonated a lot. I got lots of inquiries that that's so cool and we want to have the same kind of thing. But most of those inquiries, they came from outside Finland. So definitely there's a huge opportunity for Finnish companies to really utilize metaverse opportunities.
Hey, Sami, I'm going to piggyback off of that. So as enterprises look at their future strategy, and you mentioned that they should be investing in digital showrooms, what are other investments that they should be making to be ready for the metaverse?
At least raise the awareness of the different things in their organizations, educate their own people, really deep dive into. I would imagine we are all most likely more or less like experts of these things, but there are lots of people who know nothing about those things. At least they know some headline like ChatGPT or Metaverse or NFT, and that's it. So if there are like tons of different CTOs or CEOs, and they just want to buy 250 kilograms of ChatGPT, or as they back in the days, the same people were like buying data analytics for 1.7 kilograms. So meaning that they just need to buy it in order to look good, but that's nonsense. You should actually, there's so much of potential. So you really need to have right partners together with you to really start like figuring out what to do with this enormous amount of possibilities.
And our last question.
Yeah. Hi. Thanks, Andy. So I wanted to find out about the potential use of metaverse in communities or in countries in the developing world that until recently didn't have the ability to access the internet and all the benefits that come with that until I guess it became cheaper and devices. So metaverse to me, I think I understand it as something that has a high barrier of entry when it comes to software or hardware or maybe very fast internet speeds. So is that true, or is there a way for this function now to quickly serve communities that have been struggling to catch up and are now?
First of all, of course, the first thing that I was started to think when I was listening to you was a kind of a touch point thing that people don't have the latest and the most fanciest devices in order to run some thing, but they actually, what I think that metaverse should be is kind of it should be device agnostic, meaning that the data they're under is running and all that society, and you can interact with that metaverse even with text messages, and then it's replying back to you. And I said in the beginning of this presentation that one kind of output of metaverse experience can be just audio. It can be a podcast that some AI produces, and then you can maybe interact back to that kind of audio. It's some natural language processing model that you are having your conversation with. So most likely that kind of entry level is you just need to design such kind of things that they really fit into markets where you don't have the latest technology. But then what comes to the needs of that society and all that structure, that's totally different question. That's a area where we need to find those meaningful use cases to make people's lives better in a way or another. And then it's totally up to the case.
Okay, let's give a huge round of applause to Sami. Thanks, sir. I'm going to leave it on this meeting, but he's going to stick around for a little bit for everyone to ask questions if you didn't feel confident enough to ask on the microphone. But I know that a huge portion of what I said about it tonight is networking, so we want to get right to that. But I'd be really shit at my job if I didn't talk about a couple of things that we have coming up. So if you'll bear with me for another 5 minutes, I hope that's okay. God, I thought we learned this in the beginning. Come on, is that okay?
Yeah.
All right, awesome. And so I want to thank Sami so much for sharing his thoughts. I'm super excited to continue this conversation of metaverse throughout the year. As I mentioned at the beginning, we are a community for a playground for local change makers, and we want to grow this community. We have a pretty jam-packed year ahead of us, so I'm going to share a few things with you. And there'll be QR codes for you to scan. And on next Tuesday, January 31st, we're going to launch our new series called Tech. It's a monthly event where we're going to look into various tech industries. For the launch, we're going to turn our attention to EdTech. Here, we're going to learn from thought leaders on how to penetrate the international EdTech market and how EdTech can be used to support equal learning. On the stage will be Sari, CEO and founder of Kids Science, Salim, co-founder of Lincoln Method, and Angeles from UNICEF. We'll all have a really great conversation about how we leverage EdTech to help support learning. And also, I had a brief view with all of them, and they were wild. So it's gonna be really, I'm shitting myself a little bit having to moderate that conversation and keeping everyone in mind. Our next event on February 8th, we're gonna blend our monthly after work series with our new Hired series into one event. So Hired is a monthly event where we look at the biggest trends of talent acquisition and attraction. The conversation this time is going to tackle unconscious bias and awareness and actions for equitable organizations. And here we're going to hear from Christian Martinez, who's the HR manager for Swappy, and Laura Smith, who's the founder and DEI researcher for Valid Day. And so that should be a really, really great event. These are all open and available to everyone, so please use the QR code as I'm speaking. Joining with us back into the metaverse on February 14th for a deep dive look into digital fashion. My friend Krista Yanti is here. She is the founder of Eventually XR, and Natalia Sarmakari. Normally I don't say any Finnish names, but I got a couple American names earlier, so I figured I should challenge myself. She is a postdoctoral researcher at Aalto University. They will be on the main stage this evening to talk about how fashion has gone digital and what that means. And February 27th, there's not another slide, but on February 27th, we're going to continue our wildly popular Web3 series, which will topic to be determined once we get there. And then to end out the month on February 28th, we're going to host our second tech event. And this time, we're going to talk about how health tech gives us superhuman powers. And Francois Pallier, who's the CEO and co-founder of Circagene, will be on hand to talk about how we can use health tech to extend not only our lives, but our loved ones' lives as well. So that is a mouthful, even for this New Yorker who is used to talking at a mile a minute. So I want to thank you all so much for being here. There's still food in the back. We're going to pump up some jams. If you have a drink ticket, the bar is still open. If you don't have a drink ticket, maybe you can coerce me into getting you another one. Now those fucking laughs. I need bigger laughs than that. But if you want to know more about Epicenter, Christian, our country manager, is here. Hari, our sales manager, is there. Essie, our head of marketing, is here. We're happy to show you around, talk more. But at this point, get off those GD stairs, get on the floor, and start to network. Thank you so much.